everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone's doing well and welcome back to another worst to best album video, my favourite videos to film. Today is one I'm really excited about. I'm going to be talking about my personal favourite band, the wonderful 9 Inch Nails. And I'm wearing my everyday is exactly the same 9 Inch Nails 2020 t-shirt to mark the occasion. I have so much to say about this magnificent band and I'm going to try and keep as calm as possible throughout this video, but I might lose my head a little bit. I'm not into putting celebrities on a pedestal or hero worshipping or any of that crap, but when we're talking about Trent Reznor, my morals out the window. I love that man to the point where I don't really think I should be breathing the same air as him. I am absolutely obsessed and I'm not afraid to admit it. I think he's an absolute musical genius and severely underrated and my favourite songwriter of all time, but I think the best songwriter since Paul and John. 9 Inch Nails get a lot of credit, but I think they deserve way more credit than they get. And Trent deserves so much more credit. The talent that that man has is just incomprehensible for us normal folk. And I was gonna keep calm during this video, but I can't and I'm trying, and I just adore that man. So the first 9 Inch Nails song I ever heard was Closer, like a lot of people probably, when I watched Magic Mike, which is a little bit embarrassing, but whatever. That was the only song I listened to by them for years and years, which is really frustrating because I wish that I'd like delved into the discography earlier than I did, but maybe I just wasn't ready for it yet. So when I eventually did decide to delve into every 9 Inch Nails album, I went hard. I'm talking every album, live album, EP, music video, remix album, interview, award show things, and it was just the most life-changing experience for me. Basically went into a 9 Inch Nails cave for like 6 months or so and didn't come out, and it was amazing. But now I pretty much know the 9 Inch Nails catalogue like the back of my hand. I think I'm ready to make this video, and I know I call these videos worst to best, but I don't actually really mean worst to best because all of 9 Inch Nails albums are magnificent and unique. So yeah, let's just get started. And as always, please comment your lists down below and we can have a little chat and let me know if you agree with me or not. So in last place is gonna be Ghosts 1 to 4. I actually think the Ghosts albums are pretty cool, but when I'm comparing them to the rest of the discography, it just wouldn't feel right to put them any higher than this, basically. I definitely think Ghosts 1 to 4 is way too long and sometimes a little bit boring. There are some really nice piano sections and I do have one favourite song. My favourite song is the song 13 Ghosts 2. It's obviously a very stripped back album and one that probably only 9 Inch Nails super fans would enjoy. I think it's a pretty important album nonetheless because it kind of acted as like an audition for David Fincher and was one of the reasons why Trent and Atticus went on to score The Social Network, which is an amazing score. If you haven't listened to that, then I would definitely recommend it. I don't love all Trent and Atticus's film scores, but The Social Network is probably the best one, or maybe Soul, I'm not sure, but yeah, go and listen to it. Next up is Ghosts 6 Locusts. This is again a really long album, but I think it's a little bit easier to make sense of because the tracks have actual song title names and aren't just numbers. It's a little bit chaotic and a little bit more layered than Ghosts 1 to 4, but I would say it's a definite improvement when it comes to the sounds being used. Around Every Corner is a cool song. I also like the songs Run Like Hell and Just Breathe. It's not an album I reach for very often, but if it was released on vinyl, I would buy it. I think that sums up my feelings for it in the best way possible. So next up is of course Ghosts 5 Together. This album is very beautiful and ethereal and I just find it more enjoyable to listen to than the other Ghosts albums. It's got kind of a hopeful sound to it, whereas Locusts is more like dread and a bit more of a sad sound, I guess, which is interesting because both of the albums were released in March 2020 when obviously the pandemic had just started. But yeah, I really like the songs Out in the Open and Still Right Here, and there's not really much else I can say about the Ghosts albums. I think as instrumental albums, they're pretty good, but I am ready to hear something new from Trent and Atticus now. So now we're getting into the meaty stuff, and I found this part of the list really difficult actually, like painfully difficult, because I do love all these albums for different reasons. But in 11th place is going to be 2018's Bad Witch. It pains me a little bit to put Bad Witch so low, but I just think it's the weakest out of the latest trilogy for a number of reasons. Firstly, I think lyrically it's not the strongest, and sometimes the songs kind of merge into one. One thing I do love about Bad Witch though is the weird vocal effects that are used. On the first song, Ship Mirror, there's a few weird like vocal effects, and it reminds me of something from With Teeth. Ship Mirror is actually a really cool song, especially the last 30 seconds, and when you listen with headphones, it is definitely an experience. So yeah, the songs are pretty layered, and I always find when you listen to a Nine Inch Nails album, you can kind of tell that Trent has given 110% to the album and
Atticus Ross
and left no stone unturned and tried to make the listening experience as great as it can be. Play the Goddamn Part is a great instrumental song as well. I love, you'll see as we go on, I love Nine Inch Nails instrumentals, and this one didn't disappoint. And then the album ends with the song Over and Out, which I love, and as I'm saying this now, I'm thinking maybe I've put Bad Witch too low on this list, and I feel bad, but never mind, let's just stick with it. Over and Out is an 8-minute long extravaganza with really cool instrumentation and cool vocal effect, and it kind of reminds me of like a Bowie song, which could maybe be Trent's intention, I'm not sure, but either way, great song, great album. Next up in 10th place is the debut 1989's Pretty Hate Machine. So I was born 7 years after this was released, so it's hard for me to really understand how much of an impact it had. But it really was so important and so influential and really changed the landscape of music at the time. I just know if I was a teenager when Pretty Hate Machine was released, I would have lost my shit over it. And that's what people did, which is cool. I mean, lyrically, it's not Trent's best work. It's a little bit soppy and cringy at times. But musically, it's like nothing else I've ever heard in my life. So innovative and revolutionary for industrial music, and I remember the first time I heard it and I just saw that Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails. Gives me goosebumps even to this day. There are some great songs on Pretty Hate Machine as well. Terrible Lie is one of them, Sanctified, Sin, quite like The Only Time as well. I mean, the only reason this is so low on the list is just because the others are better in my opinion. Yeah, Pretty Hate Machine is a really important album, and the impact that it had on music should never be overlooked. So in 9th place, we've got another one of the EPs from the trilogy, and this time it is 2016's Not the Actual Events. This is a bit of a weird EP. I don't think it's super accessible for people that aren't die-hard Nine Inch Nails fans. But that's kind of what I like about it. It took me like 6 or 7 listens before I really started to get it, which you'll see is a common theme with me and Nine Inch Nails. Not the Actual Events has quite an abrasive sound, and I've seen some people compare it to things like Broken or The Downward Spiral, which I can definitely see, but I think it brings like something fresh and modern as well. The opening track, Branches and Bones, is such a bop. I love that song. The Idea of You is a really cool song that has Dave Grohl drumming on it. And yeah, overall, I just think it's a really cohesive EP, and it translates really well when they play it live, which is cool. Okay, so next up in 8th place is 2008's The Slip. The Slip is one that I often see near the bottom of people's lists, and I can see why. For me, I love the middle of the album, but the start and the end is not my favourite. But the songs that are good are really, really good. I love the song Discipline. I think it's so catchy. And the production is fantastic, so crisp and so clear. It's a pretty like rocking album, I guess. I mean, some of my favourite songs are Discipline, as I mentioned, Head Down, Demon Seed, the last song is really great, and The Four of Us Are Dying, which is an instrumental track which is great. A really interesting, kind of whimsical, stripped back song. And I think this is another album that really translates well to live performances. Every person in the band gets their time to shine. And I don't know if you guys have seen from the Slip era when they're playing Discipline live and Robin Fink's guitar just isn't in tune, like, and he takes it back and get to do one 3 times and it's just not in tune every time. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it's pretty funny.
Losing ground, 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 ground. I take it too much. Did I?
But yeah, I just think it's a really unique album, and I have a lot to say about the way that it was released, but I won't really go into that here, and I'll save that for another video. So in 7th place is the last installment from the trilogy, and it is 2017's Add Violence. I think this is the best one from the trilogy, just because I just think the songs are stronger. The opening track, Less Than, is one of my favourite Nine Inch Nails songs. So catchy and fun, and I love the lyrics and the mini guitar solo at the end of the song. And the closing track, The Background World, just makes this album. It is 12 minutes of just amazing music. I'm a big progressive rock fan, so a song can never be too long in my opinion. And The Background World is just a great example of a song that's a bit longer but manages to keep you engaged. Another reason why I love Add Violence so much is because I think it does a great job at like throwing back to the older Nine Inch Nails sound. I would say that it sounds the most like the right side of The Fragile, but it's also like completely different to that and is new and exciting. And I guess I just really appreciate how Trent is still able to make amazing music without trying to force it and like trying to sound like his old self. Okay, so in 6th place, this might be an unpopular opinion because I usually see this one a little bit higher up on people's albums, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's gonna be 1992's EP, Broken. I love this EP. I mean, every song on this EP is like a Nine Inch Nails classic. Wish, I put my faith in God and my trust in you. Now there's nothing more fucked up I could do. I mean, come on. Oh, it's just so good actually. Like, I'm just having a moment now. Like the last 30 seconds of Wish with the drums and that guitar riff, you can see why it won a Grammy. I mean, just a magnificent song. Last is another great one. Gave Up is another one of my absolute favourite Nine Inch Nails songs. You really just don't get any time to breathe with these songs. They're all so loud and fast paced and in your face, and I love that. I always listen to Broken when I need to let off some steam and be angry for a while. The lyrics are very obvious. There aren't like a great deal of metaphors like there are in The Fragile, for example. They don't take a lot of deciphering, which is fair enough considering everything that was going on with Trent and his record label at the time. There's lots of references to that, and yeah, overall it's just an amazing EP full of industrial metal bangers. Now in 5th place, this might again be an unpopular opinion, but it's going to be 2013's Hesitation Marks. So I only found out semi-recently that Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac is on this album, which is just like my two worlds colliding. And I love that. I think Hesitation Marks is so unique. It sounds like nothing Nine Inch Nails had released before it and nothing they've released since. And it's probably one of Trent's most personal albums. It's full of really strong vocals and great melodies, catchy choruses, experimental sounds, and of course, great lyrics. My personal favourite song is Various Methods of Escape. I think it just sounds beautiful, especially the bridge, and the chorus is so catchy as well. It has great backing vocals from Trent, which I love. I also love Copy of Her, All Time Low, and While I'm Still Here. And I love the artwork and how it's kind of a throwback to the Downward Spiral. There's lots of references from Hesitation Marks to Downward Spiral, which is really cool. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of an underrated album. So these last 4 albums are albums that I think are perfect. I absolutely love, I'm obsessed with, I still listen to on like a daily basis. And in 4th place is 2007's Year Zero. I don't feel like this album gets a lot of love, so I'm here to say that you guys need to put some respect on Year Zero's name. If someone could ask me what my perfect concept album would be, it would literally be Year Zero. Like, I wish I'd came up with it. I love it. I love the whole story and message behind it. If you don't know, Year Zero is basically a concept album about a dystopian world in which the government have complete control over its citizens. The way it's written, Year Zero is actually supposed to be the year 2022, which is next year. Quite scary. Anyway, the concept and all the marketing and all the stuff that came along with the album is really cool, but I actually think the songs are solid. The first half is definitely stronger than the second half, in my humble opinion, but from Hyperpower up to Capital G are some of the best 9 Inch Nails songs, and I stand by that opinion. I don't even care. Survivalism, a bop. The Good Soldier, a bop. Vessel, a bop. Me, I'm Not, a bop. The bass line in The Good Soldier, wow. And the way that ends is just, yeah. And Capital G is the catchiest song I have ever heard. I mean, it's sad how relevant this album is when it came out in 2007, and it's one I like to listen to when I'm feeling angry at the state of the world, which is all the time. I want to do a whole video about Year Zero actually, kind of like I did with the Downward Spiral. This time I've got even more to say because of all the crazy marketing and promotional stuff that came along with this album. So let me know if that's something you would want me to do. Basically, I just love this album, and if I could choose the next 9 Inch Nails album, I would choose a concept album. I know like no one agrees with me when I say that, but that's okay. Okay, so in third place is the album that came before Year Zero. It's 2005's With Teeth. So With Teeth is an interesting album for me. It took me a while to warm up to some of the songs. Now it's one I listen to all the time, and it's actually really special to me. I think Trent really stepped up vocally for this album. There's some insane vocals, especially in the opening track, All the Love in the World. It's a very kind of classic rock sounding album. It's not super fancy, and a lot of the songs are making reference to Trent's recovery from his drug and alcohol addiction, and are quite personal at times, which I really like because I can feel like I can relate to a lot of the songs. Like, I haven't had a drug and alcohol addiction, but the way the lyrics are written are quite relatable to the average person, I guess. I could talk about every song individually because they all have so much to love about them and are all worthy of their own video, but I'm not gonna do that and inflict that upon you guys. But I'll just say that my top 3 from this album are Sunspots, All the Love in the World, and probably Right Where It Belongs, but I do love the song The Hand That Feeds and Getting Smaller, and Every Day Is Exactly the Same, and Beside You in Time as well. The production is great, the music is great, the lyrics are great, the vocals are great. Like, what is not to love? I understand that this video has basically just been me like gushing over 9 Inch Nails for however long it's been, and that's because I really don't have too many negative things to say. They're my favourite band and the music means so much to me, so it's hard for me to really be too critical. Anyway, well done if you've made it this far, and it's time for the home stretch now. So in second place is 1994's The Downward Spiral. Where do I even start with this album? I mean, I've done a whole video on it. If you want to go back and have a look at that, I'll link it down below, where I talk about it for like 18 minutes. So yeah, you can go and check that out, but I'm sure if you're watching this video then you will love The Downward Spiral, because how can you not? I love The Downward Spiral so much because it didn't make for easy listening, if that makes sense. It took me a while for me to really get it. I didn't like it the first few times I heard it, but something in my soul was telling me to persevere with it. And that is what I just love so much about Trent.
And Atticus Ross.
And he makes music that isn't super accessible, and you have to work hard to understand it, which I just love so much because it kind of weeds out the people who aren't truly there for the music. Like, I am a music lover through and through. It is the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning, and it is the last thing I think about before I go to sleep. And finding other people that are like that is sometimes quite hard. So usually if someone is into The Downward Spiral, you can kind of assume that they are quite serious about music and quite into it. I'm going on a tangent here, but I guess what I'm trying to say is albums like The Downward Spiral are so important because it takes time to really understand all the complexities and layers that go into that type of music, and you discover something new every time you listen to it, but the payoff is so good. I'm really not exaggerating when I say this album flipped my world upside down. It found me at the perfect time when I really needed it, and I just love everything about it. Yeah, I mean, I love every single song, but I guess my favourites are Piggy, March of the Pigs, The Becoming, and A Warm Place, and Closer, actually. So I'm sure you've all guessed it by now, but my favourite Nine Inch Nails album is 1999's The Fragile. Again, I could literally write a novel, dissertation, thesis on why I love this album so much. But it's just so special to me. Fragile is a double album, I'm sure you know, which usually means a lot of filler, but I can tell you that not one song on this album is filler. I definitely prefer the left side to the right, but I still love the right side and listen to it all the time. My favourite songs from the left side are Somewhat Damaged, The Wretched, Just Like You Imagined, and The Great Below. And The Great Below is like the most captivating experience. Like, listening to it is legitimately a religious experience for me. It's gorgeous. And my favourite songs from the right side are Where Is Everybody, Please, The Big Come Down, and I'm Looking Forward to Joining You Finally. This album has a fair few instrumental tracks, which is probably what I love so much about it. As much as I love Trent's vocals, I think Nine Inch Nails instrumental tracks to show off the pure talent. Songs like Just Like You Imagined and Pilgrimage and La Mer are just insane. I also recently got the Fragile Deviations 1 on vinyl, and it is like my absolute prized possession. It's something Trent and Atticus released in 2017. All the songs from the Fragile, but instrumental versions and some alternate versions, and it is just great. I would highly recommend. Anyway, I love the Fragile. I think it's the best album in the world, and that basically concludes this video. So I really hope you've enjoyed it and it hasn't been too annoying to watch me fangirl. Please let me know your ranking of the albums in the comments, and if you agree with me or not. Please do subscribe, because I have already filmed my top 10 Nine Inch Nails songs video, so that will be coming up soon. Thank you again for all the support and your lovely comments, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye.